call to order the City Council meeting of May 8th, 2023. The time is 7 p.m. Opening prayer.
We pray in the name of God, the infinitely good, the all merciful, praise be to God, the Lord of the worlds, most gracious, most compassionate, master of the day of judgment. You only do worship, and in you seek help. Guide us upon the straight path, the path of those on whom your grace is, not those on whom your anger is, nor those who are astray. O God, the one who does not waste deposit, we entrust you to our country and its people, its security and safety, its days and nights, its land and its sky. We entrust you with the men, women, youth, children, and wealth of our country. O Lord our God, unite our nation, our state, and our city around the principle of justice, peace, love, and faith. Put peace and love in our hearts for the diversity that makes our country so beautiful. O Lord, most strong, give us the strength to protect and care for our neighbors. O Lord, we pray for our nation, the United States of America, to remain loving, compassionate, remove prejudice from our hearts, and enable us to love our brothers and sisters of all faiths and none. Make our hearts and minds aware of our heritage, fulfilling duties and responsibilities as citizens of our country. O Lord, most merciful, allow us to show kindness to those most vulnerable in society. Protect us from evil, inspire and guide us in defending those open to abuse. Lord, most generous, allow us to give in charitable activity and to help those most in need. Lord, give our members of this council vision and wisdom as they make decisions affecting peace, economy, and well-being of the people it serves and the world in general. Allow them to act justly and to pass laws, rules, regulations, decisions that will be beneficial not only to the residents of this city, but also to the world in general. O God, our sustainer, allow us to care for our environment and sustain this world for future generations. And most generous, please give us the patience to continue to learn from one another and work towards a more peaceful and kind world. Make true in our nation the ideas of freedom and justice and brotherhood for all those who live for them. And make our hearts generous so that we may treat others as we wish to be treated ourselves. Help us to share that which we have with others for your sake. Strengthen us, love us, and be kind to us all. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would you reintroduce yourself for us again so we know who gave us the...
My name is Jafar Juma. I am the Imam at the Islamic Society of Northeast Ohio, right here in Portage,
Yes.
close to 77. There's Burger King behind. Burger King.
Yeah.
When you come from Burger King, you
Yeah. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. You can go. Thank you.
I would ask that we rise again and bow our heads to follow the Imam's prayer. Almighty God, creator of life, tonight we offer heartfelt thanks for the life of Marge Johnson. We are grateful for her long and dedicated service to our citizens and to our city. We humbly ask that you welcome Marge into your light, into eternal life. And Almighty God, bring comfort to her husband, Dave, former mayor, and their children in this time of sorrow. Amen.
Amen.
I would also like to follow up with a message from the city administration to the Dave Johnson and family members. On behalf of city administration, I'd like to express how very saddened we are to hear about the passing of your wife, Marge. We understand this is a challenging time for you and your family, and our thoughts are with you and your loved ones. I first met Marge in 1986 when I joined the city as a full-time police officer. I was extremely impressed by her and her genuine demeanor of friendliness, kindness, helpfulness, confidence, professionalism, respectfulness, humbleness, and commitment in representing the city. As some of you may recall, and I'm sure Dave and his family will, Marge started her career with the city of North Canton in 1974 with the general title of clerk typist for the engineering department. Now, she worked under 3 city engineers during her 25 plus years with the city, Denny Fleckner, Phil Roush, and Jim Benico. It was well known that Marge was someone that could always count on for her dedication and her attention to detail. She had a keen eye when it came to noticing vital details that would have caused major problems if not detected and fixed. One could often find her helping other employees fit in, and she did for me by helping me to feel like I belonged with coworkers, supervisors, and managers. On behalf of the city administration, I would again like to express our sincere condolences and our appreciation for your wife's years of service, professional integrity, and proficiency with our city. Her actions speak for themselves, and she inspired everyone around her in an exceptional way. I know she will be dearly missed by all those who knew her. Sincerely, Mayor Stephen B. Wild, City of North Canton. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Ben, would you please call the roll?
Member Orr?
Here.
Member Volt? Member Shoreham?
Here.
Member Warren?
Here.
Member McLeister?
Here.
Member Wyrick?
Here.
Member Matheny?
Here.
7 present.
Okay, thank you. Can I have a motion and a second to approve as presented the minutes from April 19th and April 24th and the April 2023 finance report?
Revolt moves.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we'll move on to the agenda-only version of recognition of the public. At this time, members of the public wishing to address council may do so. Each speaker will be granted 5 minutes. Comments shall be limited to legislative items appearing on tonight's agenda only. The rules for speaking will, in speaker's time, will appear on both screens. This will serve as the only warning for everyone in attendance. Any violations of the rules will result in ejection from the premises. Anyone wishing to address council, please approach the podium.
Chuck Osborne, 307 Fairview Street, Southeast, North Canton, Ohio. For over a half a century, North Canton has not allowed parking on city streets between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. That law has stood the test of time and has served the city well for over 50 years. Now incorporated in a total rewrite of Chapter 351 under Ordinance Number 36/2023, there is a proposal to allow a property owner to pay a fee to park on the street and thereby not comply with the overnight parking prohibition. Allowing the purchase of a 3-month overnight on-street parking permits undermines the concept that everyone is treated equally under the law. Restricting overnight parking and then selling permits to ignore that very law invites erosion of the rule of law and eventually disrespect of the law. My wife and I have lived in a home with a single-car garage and a 1-lane wide driveway since the 1980s. I can tell you from experience nearly 35 years ago, it was no fun getting dressed to go out and move one car so the other can get out of the driveway. Coordinating who needs to leave first the next morning was a daily chore before closing up the house. My neighbors have ample parking for their numerous vehicles, but prefer to leave 1 or 2 vehicles on the street overnight. Many years ago, I added a parking pad behind my house to accommodate the 2 cars in my household. In contrast, a neighbor chose to construct a patio behind his house where he could have constructed additional parking space, but obviously chose not to. It is not good public policy to allow families to live beyond the limits of their property and infringe on their neighbors. This issue goes beyond small residential properties found in R50 zone districts. There is the fact that many streets throughout the city are narrow. Parking on the street during the day presents challenges for drivers as a result. Anyone driving around a parked car will find themselves suddenly meeting a car head on. The blind hill on Fairview Street makes the situation very dicey and unsafe. The discussion at last week's council meeting where existing parking restrictions do not allow for parking in front of one's house, that a parking permit would allow them to park across the street, will surely make homeowners very unhappy. I would be very displeased to see the city sell a permit allowing someone to park their car in front of my house 24 hours a day for as long as 6 months. Are we now going to turn our public streets into parking lots? As a family has more and more children, they generally move to a home that will accommodate the needs of their growing family. If a home does not allow for the parking of multiple cars, boats, motorcycles, and/or recreational vehicles belonging to its residents, it is time for residents to look elsewhere for a home that will meet their lifestyle. Maintain the 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. overnight parking restrictions. Strip 351.14b entirely from the rewrite of Chapter 351 and do not allow temporary overnight parking permits, period. These restrictions have served North Canton well and have made North Canton a safe, orderly community for far longer than many of you have been alive. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to address council tonight, please approach the podium.
Rita Palmer, 307 Fairview Street, North Canton. You are scheduled to vote tonight on an agenda item, Ordinance 36, 2023, relating to general parking in the city. I am opposed to Section 351.14 of the ordinance, which allows for overnight parking of cars and/or trucks on city streets, in particular between 2 and 6 a.m. An overnight parking prohibition has been around for at least 58 years, since when I began to drive, and it has served citizens well. Now, however, people will be able to buy a permit for 3 months and then a renewal for 3 more months to park in front of their house. Some people have 5 cars to park. Car driver 1 could park in front of a house for 6 months, and afterwards, driver 2 could get permits for 6 more months. At the end of the year, the permitting process will be allowed to continue into the next calendar year. The final result would be a parked car on the street for up to 24 hours for the whole year, minus time off for a snowstorm or 2 and a parking ban, which you've not yet put on the books. This is not uniform and cohesive parking regulations for all. Instead, it's buying your way out of obeying a good law. Let me elaborate further. On Fairview Street, southeast, between Foster and McKinley, there are 19 residences. Of those, only 7 would qualify to park on the street overnight because of currently signed parking regulations and the restriction in Chapter 351.03A2, part of Ordinance 36, that states, no person shall park, quote, in front of a public or private driveway, end quote. Since clearly no one would expect to legally park a car that blocks a street or a driveway, I presume this restriction means no one can park on the street opposite from any driveways or street exits, so as not to make exiting that driveway or road a dangerous option. If this is true, along with the fact that our street is narrow and there are very many curb cuts, fewer than half of the 19 residence owners on Fairview will have a safe option to buy an overnight parking permit. For surely the police department will not be giving parking permits to those residents whose house frontage is directly across from single or double wide drives or streets like Fairhart, where in the past, even a city vehicle exiting Fairhart hit a car parked on the street in front of a Fairview residence. Dodging parked cars on narrow streets is a game, at best, during the day. And if this chapter for overnight parking is put in place, it will be a disaster waiting to happen at night. The overnight parking rules have worked for years. They don't need to be changed. Not at all. However, the chapter rule 35103A2, again, part of the ordinance, its restriction to stop vehicles from parking at all times, day or night, in front of public or private driveways needs to be clarified. What exactly does that mean? Do not block the street or driveway and prevent a car from exiting at all? Or does it mean do not park on the street opposite from a drive or intersecting roadway so as to make it possible for someone to exit that driveway safely without hitting a parked vehicle? Council should consider tabling its third vote on this issue until clarifications can be made for the public to understand what this ordinance does or does not include. It is vital for citizens to have this information if you want them to safely comply. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to address council tonight? Call. Okay. Moving on to business. Ben, would you please read the title of ordinance 16-2020?
An ordinance amending chapter 1159, non-conforming uses, buildings, lots, and structures, specifically subsection 1159.03E, discontinuance of use of the codified ordinances of the city of North Canton to lower the period during which a non-conforming use is continued while inactive from 2 years to 12 months.
A community and economic development there?
I think we've discussed this frequently. Again, the purpose is to bring non-conforming uses that are vacant into compliance with our zoning ordinance in a more reasonable and timely fashion. Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, then I'll motion to adopt the third reading of ordinance 16-23.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on, Ben, would you please read the title of ordinance 21-.
An ordinance amending the zoning map of the city of North Canton to reclassify 25 parcels in the city of North Canton in accordance with the amendment procedure set forth in chapter 1182 of the Planning and Zoning Code in order to phase out office building zoning throughout the city.
Okay, as the clerk has indicated, this ordinance received a favorable opinion from the Planning Commission. Our purpose is to eliminate office building as a zoning category. You'll note on page 18 of your packet, section 1 of this ordinance lists the properties that are to be moved from office building to Main Street Central, General Business A, RMFA, and R50. So it's not uniform, but what's happened is we tried to place these in areas that make the changes to be compatible with the surrounding areas. Absent from this are the properties on Schneider that we've discussed. That will come back to us at another point when we've got some different language for a neighborhood type business. So that will come at some point. For now, this is where we are. Are there any questions or comments about this for our third reading? Board Councilman? Okay, seeing none then, I'll make a motion to adopt the third reading of ordinance 21-20.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Ben, would you please read the title of ordinance 33?
An ordinance establishing Chapter 709 of the codified ordinances of the City of North Canton, thereby creating a facade incentive program which provides economic relief to Main Street businesses who update their building's facade in accordance with recommended cohesive design standards.
Gerald again?
Okay, very good. As the short title indicates, the administration has prepared some facade standards. It has created a prescribed method for applying for this incentive.
I
And
apologize.
the incentive essentially, based upon the size of the project, will allow the applicant to receive a waiver or a portion of the waiver for the fees, permit fees to do the facade. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, then I'll make a motion to adopt the third reading of ordinance 33-.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Ben, would you please read the title of ordinance 33-2023? Sorry, that's
36.
36.
An ordinance repealing and replacing Chapter 35-1 parking generally of the codified ordinances of the City of North Canton.
This is the third reading. We've had two speakers tonight oppose that. Does any of the council people have any questions on this? We've discussed it quite a bit. It's going to give our police force a little bit more meat. It's going to help both ways, the city and the residents on this.
I think, and Mayor, you and I talked about this, and I talked about Mr. DiOrio as well. This is for special circumstances. People just can't willy-nilly go up and, hey, I want to park on my street now. I've decided that it's just been a nuisance. So it really is still going to be for that. So I don't think, Mrs. Palmer, when you said that they could do it for 6 months and then 6 months, it's a case by case. So somebody would note that and say, oh, they are, I guess, not adhering to the way the system is supposed to be. So again, it is for those unforeseen circumstances to help families that may be in need at that time.
I think the example that was given, if my memory serves, was during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And maybe there were kids in college, they've gotten cars as they've gone away to college, and now there's no room for them to park in the driveway, and can't be at school, they're home, where do they park? I did not take it as this is a new lifestyle choice that we're just gonna park on the street, so.
People have healthcare needs.
Yeah.
Different things like
It's an
that.
extenuating circumstance.
Yeah.
And as far as parking on the street, I mean, I know for many, many years, people have been, they're getting their driveway redone. They park on the street. Heck, we did it, last year. I mean, it's not anything new. The length of time is different, but it's for an extenuating circumstance. So I hear what you're saying, and I appreciate your comments, but I think it would be more of an extenuating circumstance, or more for.
Do we have a definition of those that qualify as far as the side of the street? There are certain streets where you can't park on one side of the street. Does that exclude those? Are we limiting options for residents to park on the street? So is this only available to some and not to all?
I thought
I would answer your question in this way. Substitute my comment for that, Mr. Boyer. But this ordinance will not cancel no parking on either side of the street. If it's posted no parking, you cannot park on that side of the street.
Does that resident have an option for parking there
If he doesn't, then if the street is posted no parking
on his side?
on his side, and this goes to my second question. The street is a public right of way. A homeowner does not have, at least in my mind, any legal authority to prohibit someone else from parking in front of his home on the public right of way.
And I thought that was something we had discussed, but I
think
could be
we have.
wrong. Yeah.
But I think based upon some of the comments tonight, I think it's important
Yeah.
that it be understood that the homeowner does not control the use of the public right of way. It belongs to the community, and it is for the community's use, unless it is posted, no parking.
So as written, it is any property in front of which street parking is currently legal. From my recollection of our meeting with Wayne, we intentionally did not say the same side of the street because of that reason. So you could be in front of your home across the street.
Down the street from your home.
Well, no, you do have to be in front of your home.
Pardon?
You do have to be in front of your home. You cannot be down the street.
Oh, yeah.
from your home.
Well, that's an interesting question. Maybe that's something that should be revisited. Because it's conceivable, for example, if you have an R50 lot with driveways, you may have to stick the second car one down.
Yes, that gets harder to track because each property is individually listed to 2 permits a year.
It does not.
Would you say that again, Ben? Would you say that one more time, please?
Each property and each vehicle individually are limited to 2 permits a year. So let's say, so like my grandmother used to live in town and my aunt both live in town. Let's say while I was at Walsh, one summer I spent it with my grandmother, or the same summer I spent 2 months with my grandmother and 2 months with my aunt. I have used up my 2 permits on that one vehicle for the year at 2 different locations. The 2 locations have each used one of their permits for the year, both on me.
Thank you for the explanation.
I think if it's permitted properly and vehicles are displaying a permit, you can have the address, which it's granted. You should know that. You should know it. But I think if you're arguing that it's got to be exclusively in front of the house, I think that's problematic. They work in my neighborhood where you can park 3 or 4 cars in front. It may work in my neighborhood where you can park 3 or 4 cars in front of my house. But it would have never worked up on Backville where we lived when we were first married.
But it's only overnight, right? So you're the only one on the street probably who is allowed to park
Well,
overnight on the street.
let's come back. Let's assume for the sake of argument that you're living in an R50 neighborhood. You've got 2 kids in college. You may need temporarily those parking spots in front of the house. Let's assume, for example, that, with the temporary example, let's assume you've had a death in the family. And you have people coming in, kids are home. They can't get in the driveway. They have multiple cars. You want to make it legal for all the cars. They just can't park all in front of the house.
According to the way the ordinance is written, it is directly in front of the house. So it goes back to my original question. We're
That should be
limiting
struck.
this to only those individuals that have enough space in front of their house or across the street from their house.
And if
The ordinance,
there's
I'll read it to you. It states,
Dave, draw
Permits shall permit one vehicle identified by both license plate and VIN number to park on the street directly in front of the property for which the permit was issued for a period of no more than 3 months. So it does state directly in the ordinance.
And if the parking is not allowed on one side of the house, you're
Right.
even more limited on I think that needs to be revisited.
Because
I think if we're this confused.
Yeah,
in my
right.
neighborhood, across the street, my neighbor couldn't park on the street because of a fire
I
hydrant,
was thinking about
Yeah.
that.
you know? So is he allowed to park in front of my house, according to how it's written? No.
Well, directly in front of his house.
Right,
If that's across the street, then yes, but hopefully they don't live on Apple Grove.
right, right.
Okay, let me answer this question then. Are you proposing an amendment that we strike directly?
Proposing we kind of rethink. I just think we're so confused with what works. And Dave, you and I had talked, and remember we wanted some, not that we can put examples, but we don't want people to just think, like you said, this is just a new way of life. We don't feel like getting up in the morning and this is what we can do. That's not what this is about. And we felt like that wasn't clear enough.
You also don't want to give someone free rein to park anywhere in the city or anything. If you strike that completely, they can park anywhere.
But if it's registered to a specific address, does it matter?
It's not.
But that's not the way this ordinance is written.
That's
right.
Maybe we should revisit this with administration and with Wayne and clarify that before we take a vote on the third reading.
Agreed.
So you have a motion to read it. I'm gonna make a motion that we table this.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay. Ben, would you please read the title of ordinance 37-2020?
An ordinance establishing chapter 1313 of the codified ordinances of the city of North Canton, thereby creating regulations for the establishment and maintenance of grading and drainage on lots in the city of North Canton, Ohio.
John?
All right, we talked about this at great lengths earlier. It's preventing water from going to your neighbor, the neighbor's yard. You know, people are dumping all this dirt on their lot to make the water go anywhere but where it belongs to go. So, I think it's written really well, and I'll make a motion that we pass the third reading of this.
So just to clarify, so I was talking with a resident this week, and then one neighbor had put like a brim kind of up, and it actually kept the water in their area. So it actually stopped the flow moving. I don't think he expected that when he did that. So now he's thinking about, oh, that didn't work. I'm going to put like a little walkway between, which then that would release the water from his house going into another neighbor's yard. Illegal, exactly.
Right.
So we should be able to say to this neighbor, you aren't allowed to do that.
Correct.
Okay. And that's what we're trying to hope.
Trying to
You
hope.
cannot, you can't change the flow of natural water
Right.
to someone else's.
Exactly.
Okay.
And you get these people who are dumping all this huge amount of dirt, and it's flowing over to the left or flowing to the
Yeah.
right.
Okay, let me ask you this. Would that neighbor, once he saw that he had impeded his natural flow on his own side, are they able to put a sump pump in that area and then put that out to the street and down our drains?
I'm not
They
an
have a
engineer.
permit.
You'd have to get a permit.
Yes.
Okay,
That would make sense.
Mhm.
all right. It was very timely.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
So I'll make a motion that we pass the third reading of this.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Ben, would you please read the title of ordinance 44-2023?
An ordinance amending chapter 703, registration of rental units, specifically subsection 703.04C of the codified ordinances of the city of North Canton in order to amend the inspection procedure for registered rental units.
Utilities, Jamie.
No,
Oh, well, I'm sorry. Yeah.
As it stands now, how's it written now, we go 30 days, then another 30 days, and another 30 days. What we want to do is go 60 days, then another 60 days.
No. Right now, it's inspection 1, 30 days, inspection 2, 30 days, inspection 3. The new method would be inspection 1, 60 days, inspection 2, you're done.
yeah,
It's still 120 days,
Well, it's still 60 days.
60 days, and trying to get a repair contractor out in 30 days is next to impossible these days. So, and most people, how are the calls coming in for that? Getting a lot of asking for extensions, how it's currently written?
Yeah, that's part of what brought this forward. We've, because of scheduling contractors, we've been treating it as you have 30 days to schedule the next inspection as opposed to you have 30 days to have the next inspection completed, because so frequently it's, okay, I've called a plumber, here's proof that I've contacted a plumber, but they're not coming until XYZ. So we feel the 60 days will give them enough time to get it all done and not be worrying about, oh, my 30 days are running out while waiting for a plumber.
Good explanation. Any other questions or comments on that?
I just want to make a clarification. I read 44-2023. This is 43-2023. So just wanted to clarify that.
All right, I'll make a motion, we pass the third reading of this,
Agree.
or second reading, excuse me.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Ben, would you please read the title of ordinance 44-2023?
An ordinance repealing and replacing Chapter 935, Water Lines and Hydrants of the codified ordinances of the City of North Canton in order to simplify water tap-in regulation.
All right, utilities, Jamie.
All right, we've discussed this at one of the council meeting and also at committee. This is to address tap-in fees in an effort to get more people potentially interested in tapping in outside the city. So I don't know if there's anything else to add. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
No.
Okay, so with that, I would move that we pass the second reading of ordinance 44-2023.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Ben, would you please read the title of ordinance 45-2023?
An ordinance repealing and replacing Chapter 937, Water Rates of the codified ordinances of the City of North Canton in order to adjust rates and clarify regulations.
Jamie again, utilities.
All right, and this ordinance addresses the water rates and the need to tweak the plan that was put in place, and correct me if I'm wrong, it was back in 21, was it? Previously?
The current rate plan was
current
21.
plan, yeah. So this is adjusting the current rate plan, and again, we discussed this in the past, so I don't know if there's any other comments.
There is.
Okay.
I think it's important that as we discuss these water rates, that our citizens understand that we basically have three options available to us. The first option is to raise the rates to meet state and federal fiscal operation standards. Those standards require that we have, and I would look to our Director of Finance to assist me if I stumble, but we're required to maintain an operating balance, are we not?
Mm-hmm.
A reserve, if you will.
12 months.
12-month reserve. We're required to do that. Moreover, if we elect not to, we would be subject to certain types of penalties. Amongst them, ineligibility for grants to help maintain the system through Ohio Public Works. This is not, say, a penalty to be taken or considered lightly.
For sure.
The second option is the option that's always available to us. And that's the do nothing option. Just let it run. Ignore the fiscal requirements. And if there's an emergency or a problem, you simply don't have the revenue to address it. Or if you decide to, then the costs might be too high for the residents to afford. For example, Flint, Michigan comes to mind, or that recent community down in Alabama, 3,500, whose water system has failed. They simply let it go too long and now have a crisis on their hands. The third option that we have is to sell the system. Sell the system. Sell it to Aqua, a for-profit corporation. We will never have to deal with a complaint again about rates. Because frankly, we don't set it. We don't own the system. We've heard some complain that the 5% rate is too high. It's oppressive. What does that 5% really mean? It means 31 cents per thousand. 31 cents. So I think the question for us as we go forward, and we can sell it down the road if you like, or you can repeal the rates. But I'd much rather have control of our rates than somebody else. At least we're doing it to keep the system functional and operative and conforming with the law. If you want an example of how well privatization of municipal water systems works, Google America. You will find that when a corporation has to meet the requirements of its stockholders, the rates don't increase by 5%. They don't go up 30 cents a thousand. And as that system needs to be updated with capital investment, there are major costs that are passed on to the consumer. So, Mr. McLeister,
Yes, sir.
you asked for a motion.
I would like a motion.
Second.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to new business. Ben, would you please read the title of ordinance 46-2023?
An ordinance repealing and replacing Chapter 719 rubbish haulers of the codified ordinances of the City of North Canton.
John, you're going to talk about some rubbish haulers here?
Jamie, would you like to?
Confusing.
It is.
Jamie talks about rubbish.
Yeah. This is pretty simple. All right, how I understand this, all right? It's not gonna change anything else except, you have to still have your rubbish containers away from the road within, I think it's 24 hours, okay? How this was written years ago was they had to be out of sight. Put in a garage, fence around it, whatever. We used to go, before Kimball, we had the little plastic totes. Then we went to these, you name it, how big those recycle and the trash bins are, So putting them in, most of the homes I know in my ward are single car garages. Not a lot of room in there. Driveways are short. You try to put them away, in the back. I put mine in the back, out of sight. But in the summertime, I don't want my trash can or recycle by where my patio is, so they go to the side of the house.
Mhm.
It's really not going to change where people are putting these. You drive through the city, it's pretty consistent. They're off the street, they're off to the side of the house. And there's some even in garages.
I think, excuse me, I take a little bit of a different view to this, and I think if you go back years ago, because I'll go back to when my wife and I bought our house in 2007, before Kimball was the trash hauler in the area, or at least before we had these cans. We live in an older home. We have albeit a 2-car garage. We were easily able to store the cans in our garage, and I think it was decisions from councils many years ago. I think something like 10 or so years ago that went to these cans, and I struggle here because I think it looks awful to see these cans sitting out in front of people's houses. I wish that we had not gone with Kimball years ago. I'll come out and say it, because I think that these cans they look bad. However, we've got a double-edged sword. I've had calls from a couple residents about this, that they don't want me to support this, and frankly, I don't want to support this, but we run a risk if we leave it the way it is now. You drive by a lot of the houses in the city and you will see cans, whether they're on the side or they're in the front. And I don't know that it necessarily.
Little music for your.
Yeah, I think we're having technical difficulties here.
I don't know what happened to that TV.
Okay. A mind of its own. So, I guess basically just to wrap it up, what I'm saying is that I think it's a double-edged sword here. I don't necessarily like seeing the cans out in front of the house, but at this rate, what are we going to do? Cite, a quarter of the city for this? And so you really can't enforce this law. So I just wanted to say my piece, since I wasn't able to say it last week, that I don't know that I support it from my heart, but I think from a practicality standpoint, this is probably the right decision. So
A lot of them are not out in front of the house, either at the side.
they're still within view of the front. Yeah. So
Well, the ordinance as written is not hidden from view from the right of way. The ordinance as written is hidden from view from your neighbor's property.
mm-hmm.
So they might be hidden from the street, but if your neighbor could still see it from their backyard, you are technically in violation.
But I'm even going as far as saying that are a significant number of people that just leave them in their front yard or they're in their driveways.
It's impossible to enforce. We're not.
Correct. It's
enforcing it now.
impossible to enforce, and that's the problem. And that's why I reluctantly will vote yes for this. But I just wanted to say my piece. So
It's a good example of the law of unintended consequences.
that's exactly right.
This was to promote efficiency and cost effectiveness in the collection, to hold down rates, automating garbage collection, to reduce the amount of trash that was escaping smaller cans and blowing up and down streets.
Mhm.
So what do we get? What your neighbor's can.
But Jamie, you can still use that blue recycle bin, right?
I can.
You have 5 cars, maybe you could park a car in front of one.
Kimball threw away his recycle bin.
Well,
That's not
yeah.
bad.
But I did get a new one. So
That's good.
and I'm sorry, I'm getting over bronchitis. I apologize for the coughing. I will add, because my wife and I are holdouts, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Young, but if you do not want a large trash can, you can have, Kimball also offers a smaller can, or you can use your own can, because I've been using my own can since we got married in 2007. So therefore they do fit nicely in my garage. So
You have a 2-car garage.
yeah, with a smaller can.
So there are some people that don't even have a garage.
Yeah.
Or they have it in an alley
Yeah.
behind their house.
Yep.
Through a fence. Yeah.
Well, I'll make a motion, we take this to the second reading.
Second.
12 seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ben, would you please read the title of Resolution 47-2023?
A resolution authorizing the Director of Administration to provide the information and documentation necessary to apply for funding assistance through the Ohio Department of Natural Resources Nature Works Grant Program and declaring the same to be an emergency.
Okay, Parks and Recreation, Christina.
So this is an Ohio Department of Natural Resources Nature Works grant that requires that council agrees for the city to submit an application for this potential funding. It's going to be used it would be a reimbursement up to 75% for new playground structure and play surface at Dogwood, not the pool, the actual playground. We discussed it last week in committee. Does anyone have any questions? Anything? Okay, we're gonna have to adopt this on emergency because the grant is due June 1st. So I would move that we adopt the first reading of 47, 2023.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Can I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules of council requiring 3 readings?
So, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And can I have a motion and a second to adopt resolution 47-2023 under suspension of the rules?
Revolt moves.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Ben, would you please read the title of ordinance 48-2023?
An ordinance amending Chapter 135, Department of Fire and Emergency Medical Service, specifically Section 135.02, Chief of Department of the Codified Ordinances of the City of North Canton, to correct a conflict with the North Canton City Charter.
Personnel, David.
Yes, so we do have a conflict under the charter. 3.02 paragraph 3 item 2 states that the administrator gets to choose the chief of the departments, and in our ordinances it states that the mayor gets to choose the chief of the fire department and medical services. So we need to correct that, and we need to go back to what the charter actually states, and that's what this ordinance will do. Questions?
That makes sense.
Mhm.
Make a motion that we adopt the first reading of ordinance 48-2023.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, moving on to department reports. Let's start with Mayor Wilder.
Well, thank you very much, and I appreciate the comments of our public tonight. Thank you very much. I want to go through a number of things. Been kind of busy these last few weeks, but I want to bring up council up to date and my opportunity to represent the city in a number of functions. So please bear with me. On Thursday, April 27th, we had a ribbon cutting for the new bakery shop down on South Main at 1310 South Main Street, Stuffed Pastry. They're bringing their unique bakery items to the city, another new business coming in. And we had a great ribbon cutting and a proclamation welcoming them to the city of North Canton. Also, then on Saturday, April 29th, we had opening day, the North Canton Little League. It was a rainy day, but we got all our activities in and festivities. However, they weren't able to play any baseball games because the fields were soaking wet. But that was in recognition. I issued a proclamation for them for their 70th anniversary of providing a baseball to our Little League. We had 265 youth participating for the event that morning. And congratulations again to Carl Young, Tom Meter, MEDR, and our favorite dentist in the community here, President Gary Giamarco, for all the work that you've been doing for the last 40 to 50 years in maintaining Little League baseball here in North Canton. On Saturday also had an opportunity to attend, we had an open house at Arrowhead Golf and Event Center to promote it, the banquet facility and the swimming pool. However, we had inclement weather that day, and there wasn't a big turnout, but we're still, proud of Arrowhead and what it has to offer for our community. And I'm not sure if we're going to do that again, but we did have a few foursomes come out, and I think somebody did buy a membership to play golf out there. Also that day, many of you may know this, but the North Canton Rotary Club also sponsors a high school leadership Interact Club at Hoover High School. And the tradition of the senior citizens prom continued on that Saturday night. We had over 200 guests, and I had an opportunity to be the doorman. It's not every day, I guess, the mayor meets people coming in from Navarre, Akron. We had them from Canton South, Louisville, Plain, Jackson Townships, Stowe and Akron coming down to the prom. So that was a very enjoyable evening for them. Moving on to Sunday, on April the 30th, our North Canton Public Library hosted the Little Art Gallery's 80th May art show. And I sent a congratulatory note to Elizabeth Blakemore, the gallery curator. Had an opportunity to be there, and also issue another proclamation in support of their 80th annual program. Some of you may be aware of this, but had an opportunity on Monday, May 1st. That's why I wasn't here at the Committee of the Whole meeting. I was invited by the president and CEO of the National First Ladies Library, and that was Mrs. Patty Dowd Schmitz, and invited me to be a part of the program that night with the introduction of called Beyond Camelot. And that was in support of the life and legacy of Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis. Monty Durham from Say Yes to the Dress was there and brought his artifacts, memorabilia, dresses, and especially the reconstruction of the wedding dress that Jackie Kennedy wore at marriage. And had an opportunity to be there. And the unique thing about that was also part of the program was the deputy superintendent of Cuyahoga Valley National Park. And that is Karen Dorn, maiden name Bedfree. And she is a North Canton Hoover graduate. And the president and CEO of the park is also a North Canton Hoover graduate. So I was able to have some alumni there. And that was a very fun event. On Thursday, May 4th, I want to thank again our North Canton Ministerial Association. They conducted an interfaith prayer event at Bitzer Park on the May 4th, that Thursday. They had two, one at noon and one around 3 o'clock. And I wanted to thank the community again for coming out and supporting that, and especially all our faith-based community organizations here in North Canton, but also a very special thank you to the Jewish community of Canton, the Islamic Society of Northeast Ohio, and the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Greater Canton. All participated in that interfaith prayer day. And part of that was also, I supported that with a proclamation also in support of and recognition of that, in accordance with the president's issue as mandated under a U.S. code. So we did that for them also. And by the way, that was very well received by the small group that was there. They very much enjoyed that. Also on Thursday, May 4th, I had the opportunity to attend the May 4th, 1970-2023 annual commemoration of the May 4th shootings at Kent State University and Jackson State. And through a personal connection, I was invited to speak with a group of students from Emerson College, Boston. And they were there coming down to Kent State that day to learn a little bit more about international political communication. And they visited the site. And I was able to provide them my perspective on what happened over the course of several days leading up to the tragic shooting deaths and injuries on May 4th, 1970, and the closing of our university and campuses, not only here, but across the United States. And as a freshman, I was there that weekend of those events, and I just gave them my perspective as a spectator and what I saw and what I experienced. And they were very thankful for that. And I thought that was a very nice compliment for them to ask me to be there. More recently, on Saturday, May 6th, Walsh University, our hometown university, graduated 638 students, 9 countries and 35 U.S. states, involving 55 degrees, academic degrees being awarded. And a very special evening on that Saturday. My wife Mary and I were invited by Dr. Tim Collins, president of the university, and his wife Brenda to attend the post-commencement dinner to celebrate the honorary doctorate degrees Recipients, Archbishop Bashar Mate Warda of Iraq and local developer Roger DeVille. Archbishop Warda, that's W-A-R-D-A, received a doctorate in theology, and Roger DeVille received a doctorate from the School of Business. And it was a wonderful, intimate dinner along with board of directors and other guests, special guests. But I thought that was very much of an honor for the mayor to be invited and represent the city at that function. And closing in, okay, on it here, on Sunday, May 7th, I was invited to attend the Cornerstone Baptist Church in Massillon for their 7th annual law enforcement or day of service recognition. And that was their 7th one also. And I was able to be there for my 7th time to attend that. And they recognized all the law enforcement agencies in Stark County and the officers and their wives and families and significant others that were there that day. And it was very kind of Cornerstone Baptist Church to invite our department along with others there. And almost closing it out, I don't know if some of you saw us walking on Main Street, but we did Stark Hunger Walk. And there was other walks going around in the county that day, but we had one here in North Canton. And I can't thank Community Christian Church enough for coordinating that and being the jump off site for that. And so we had 123 participants there. And we raised for the Akron Canton Regional Food Bank $8,500 that will go to,
that's great.
to the bank. And the weather finally cooperated and we did have a good time. I thank the Boy Scouts who were there. All the volunteers from the church that were there too. So we got through that day. And just to give you a heads up, tomorrow on Tuesday at 3 p.m., we'll be doing a ribbon cutting and welcoming another business, small business, to the city of North Canton. And that is Park Street Pizza. And they're coming to us from Sugar Creek, Ohio. And they're going to be down at 1212 South Main Street. And we're looking forward to tasting some of their signature pizzas and other food items, as they say, from farm to fork. So we'll be down there for them. And a little shout out to one of our North Canton Middle School, a 7th grader student, Destiny Shamaya. She took first place in the All-Stark County Civics Bee. And that was held recently at Walsh University. And she was one of 16 finalists from 7 school districts here in Stark County. So shout out to her and congratulations her for coming in first place. And with that, I'm going to give you a heads up, okay? May 19th and 20th is the North Canton Garden Club perennial garden sale. So put that on your calendars, okay? I'm getting the word out early for them. And they do a great job in decorating some of the garden boxes that we have at the square and in the city. So I appreciate your indulgence on allowing me to share some things with my opportunity to represent the city of North Canton in a number of areas. So that's all I have, President Story.
Thank you, Mayor. Was the first pitch an opening day a strike?
You know what? It was a little outside, but I didn't bounce it. It went across the plate. It was a good catch. The young man was there, gave me a good target. It was just on the outside corner. Okay.
Nice.
So, but thank you very much. I wasn't was it Kelsey who threw that terrible pitch at the football player up at?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think he bounced it 6 feet before home plate. So there's a lot of pressure doing that. It looks good. But anyways, thank you for the indulgence of allowing me to share some of the things. It's been a busy time of the week. So.
Thank you. Director of Finance, Gina.
I'm going to share my time with Jim. We both have just a couple things to know.
Yeah, so I'll go first. Last week, we were awarded finance and the city of North Canton the GFOA Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. GFOA is the Government Finance Officers Association. That was for our 2021 financial report. They're a little behind. Usually you get them August of the next year. So we would hope, we're doing 2022's audit right now, so we would hope that we would get, it's August of this year, correct? Yeah, we hope, it's kind of delayed. But just for a reference, this certificate of achievement is the highest form of recognition in government accounting and financial reporting. And I'll give a little breakdown and little write-up that I have here. We were honored to receive the GFOA Certificate of Achievement for Excellence Financial Reporting. It's a prestigious award granted by the Government Finance Officers Association to recognize governments that go beyond the minimum requirements of the generally accepted accounting principles. And that they prepare comprehensive annual financial reports that demonstrate transparency and full disclosure. This is a testament to our city's commitment in maintaining the highest standards of financial management and reporting. While this award highlights the exceptional work of our finance department, it also recognizes the collaborative efforts of all our city employees. Their dedication to maintaining accurate financial records and adhering to best practices, working together toward a fiscally responsible and transparent government has contributed to achieving this recognition. This award is a testament to the entire city team's commitment to excellence and their ongoing efforts to serve our community with the highest standards of financial stewardship. We're proud to celebrate this achievement. So we've had this consistently since 1988, and Gina and I are really hoping to get, for the first time this year, the GFOA Budget Award, which is kind of something we've kind of been shooting at. But she's never had it. So.
Go to the next level.
We're shooting for that.
It's gonna keep getting better. And then on a second note, our new utility billing system went live today, this afternoon. So if you have not paid your May bill, check out the new system. I did try this afternoon for the first payment, and they're asking for a customer identification number, which will be printed on your June bill. So you don't have that, but you can still test out the new system, pull up your bill. You would just have to pay as a guest this first round. You can sign up for e-bill, you can email notifications, there's just all sorts of new. And then as we build the system with multiple months in the new system, then you'll be able to see graphs of usage and a lot more information about your account. So try it out and see how you like it.
Thank you. Congratulations. Ben.
I just have one item today, very relevant given Ordinance 48, as it has to do with the Chief of Fire and EMS. Sign-ups for the promotional exam to be potentially the next chief started today, as well as sign-ups for battalion chief and captain promotional exam. Those will all be held. Captain and battalion chief. All three of those exams will be held later this June. The two chiefs exams, chief and battalion chief, are being given as a combined exam. They have the same study materials, so we didn't feel like making everybody sit through two tests on the same item. That's all
All right, thank you, Ben. Let's go to council reports. Start with Jamie.
All right, well, I too was going to report on the 29th being at the Little League opening ceremonies, and it was a rainy day. I was almost pressed in service to hold the mayor's umbrella, but he was able to manage. But I was going to report on the first pitch, and I was going to say that I was trying to get a video of it, but the kids were they were all in there, so I did not see it. I can't substantiate his report. It was just a bit outside, but he didn't skip it in. So, and also I just wanted to welcome the new businesses to town. I think that's fantastic. Definitely looking forward to a slice of pizza because I've heard a lot about them. So that's it.
Thank you, Jamie. David, Ward 2.
Okay. Personnel and safety, congratulations to the finance department. Strong leadership and going above and beyond. I think that's what the residents are used to in North Canton. Finance department is definitely there. So. We do have a new employee, and Terry Gorski, North Canton Administration, has a new full-time administrative assistant. She comes to the city with a strong administration background working for I-Centers of Ohio and Edward Jones, the North Canton branch office. So she'll be sitting at the front window desk in administration. So if you stop into the buildings, definitely say hi to Terry. Also have a Sergeant Buzzard celebrating 11 years on the police force. What a great achievement there. And that also shows a testament to, you know, the longevity of our police and fire and employees in the city. So congratulations, Sergeant Buzzard.
Cool.
Good job. Ward 3, Stephanie.
Congratulations to finance. That is a longstanding tradition to keep receiving that. But I'm excited about the budget one.
Me too.
Yeah. It's not surprising that you would want that. That's very impressive. And thanks for bringing Jim. I think that's important when you think about succession planning and just getting those different voices and experience here at our meetings. So thank you for doing that. And Mayor, I always love hearing all the things you do because it just shows your commitment not only to this community but to the county as a whole. And nobody can say there are not things to do in our community if you are so willing to look around and somebody support so many of our great nonprofits. So very important to do that.
Thanks. Ward 4, John.
Again, congratulations to the Finance Department. Mayor, thank you. You are definitely a worthy mayor. You're making your face out there. So thank you very much. And no report tonight.
Daryl.
No report.
Okay. Christina.
I'd just like to thank North Canton Rotary. They went out and did a cleanup day at Rotary Park. So that was very cool. So thanks to them. And that is all.
Don't have much. A lot of events covered there. I'll just say buy and support local. And final call for new business. Okay. Going on to the meeting calendar. The next meeting will be May 15th. Will be a committee of the whole meeting.
Yes.
Do we?
15?
Yeah.
Yes, I have at least 2 items.
Okay.
May 22nd is a regular city council meeting, and May 29th there will be no meeting due to Memorial Day.
I would also like to say that the community survey begins May 15th. Everybody get ready, get pumped.
Exciting. Yeah. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Did I leave with my Granicus?
I will try.